Nicola Sturgeon's promised to spend £50 million to help schools to communicate to pupils that violence is unacceptable. Now, Nicola, you can keep your £50 million. I'm going to offer to help you for nothing. I'm going to make a video that can be shown in the schools of Scotland to make the point that violence is unacceptable. So before I do that, I'll first of all show you how not to do it. Good morning, learners. I'm sorry to say that there's been some unacceptable behaviour in this school recently, and I just want to clarify what's acceptable and what's not. Hitting someone, that's unacceptable. Kicking someone in the head, that's really unacceptable. Attacking a teacher, that's really very unacceptable. Now you may say, why is that unacceptable? I say, because everybody has the right to be happy. Now if you do one of these unacceptable things, and this is no empty threat, I'm going to tell you what will happen to you. So if you kick someone in the head, what will happen to you is we'll sit down and we'll talk to you about it. We'll try and work out what's bothering you and find out how we can support you, because we realize it's not really your fault. Something's gone on that's caused you to behave like that. But again, this is no empty threat. If you then do it again, what will happen is we'll sit down and talk to you again and have exactly the same conversation. And we'll keep repeating that forever until you leave the school. Now that's just my view. I mean, if you disagree with me on this issue, do bring it up with your student forum representatives and we can have a meeting to see if we can work out something different instead. Okay, thanks learners. Have a nice day. And perhaps this is a little bit more like how it should be done. Good morning, boys and girls. Sadly, there have been some violent incidents in the school in recent months, so I just wanted to clarify our position with you. I mean, you know, don't you? You shouldn't hit, kick, push people downstairs, pull hair. You shouldn't do things that are intended to hurt and to injure people. Now, I know sometimes you might do something that might hurt you, might hurt each other. It's just a bit of fun, but you know the difference. You know the difference. So why shouldn't you do things? Why shouldn't you act violently? Why shouldn't you do things that hurt and injure people? Well, it's pretty obvious, isn't it? I mean, being hurt and injured is not a good thing. It also scares people as well. It is just wrong to treat people in those ways. And you don't get to choose whether that's wrong or not. It's just a fact. It's wrong. You should not and you cannot be allowed to behave in that way. I mean, one way to think about it is that you shouldn't do things to other people that you wouldn't like them to do to you. Maybe you think, why? Why? Maybe you think you should be a special case. You're allowed to hit other people, to kick other people, but other people shouldn't kick you. Well, why should you be a special case? You're not the center of the universe, and the rules apply the same to everyone. Perhaps you're one of the tiny number of pupils in the school. You're thinking, well, actually, I quite enjoy it. I quite enjoy pushing people around. I quite enjoy making them cry. I quite enjoy getting a sort of angry reaction out of them. Well, you shouldn't. If you do enjoy that, there's something wrong with you. And we're here to try and change you for the sake of you, because if you carry on with that attitude, with that character trait, it's not going to lead to a good place. And it's obviously not good for the people around you. So we are going to do everything in our power to try and change you in that regard. Because in this school, the same as in this nation, you do not have a choice. There are rules in this school, there's a law of the land, and if you behave in this way, if you're violent towards people, there will be punishment. And within this school, that punishment will involve long and hard work, and it will be deserved, because people shouldn't get away with treating other people in these ways, and they won't get away with it here. In later life, you might find yourself in prison for this sort of behavior, but in this school, you might find punishments. Ultimately, you might find yourself expelled from the school. And why would that be? That's because we've got to protect the innocent. We're not going to have any of you inflicting pain and fear and injury on other students. It's just not going to be allowed to happen. We're going to enforce justice, because that's what civilization is. Civilization is a context where bad characters are restrained. There's rules, there's a system to stop them behaving badly towards other people. Now, maybe you're someone who's engaged in violent behavior towards other people, but you've thought you've got an excuse. I've heard pupils say, oh, but they really annoyed me. Don't care. Or I was having a bit of a bad day. Don't care. Or my cat died. Or maybe some more serious issue going on in your family life, for example. We do care. We really do care. Come and talk to us. We'll try and support you through that. But is it an excuse? No, it is not an excuse. Maybe you've got a piece of paper from some psychologist saying you've got anger management issues. No excuse. We'll try and help you, but no excuse. You are in charge of you. You're not on autopilot. We hold you responsible for your actions. Now, if we didn't do that, if we accepted these excuses, if we said, oh, you can't really help it, then a mainstream school is not really the place for you. Now, if you find yourself with some sort of punishment, if you've acted violently, we'll give you a punishment. It might be quite severe. You have to accept that. And whatever that punishment is, you have to go along with it perfectly. You turn up to it on time, wearing the right clothes, with the right attitude, and you do exactly what you're told to do. And if you don't, then that will just result in swift escalation. We're not going to have people messing around and misbehaving and disrespecting punishments that are given. Now, what sometimes happens is one pupil will provoke another one. In the language they use, they'll be very insulting. They'll make insulting comments about their family, obscene comments, steal things from them. And eventually the person gets so wound up that they thump the person who was doing the provoking. Now, when I hear those stories, I can quite sympathize sometimes with the person who's thumped someone. I can quite sympathize. I would almost say it was understandable, but is it an excuse? No, it is not an excuse. Having said that, if someone really provokes you, let's say by saying obscene things about your family, and eventually you snap and you punch them one, you'll be punished. Maybe the person who said the obscene things, maybe they might be punished even more. But it's got to stop. Now, if you find yourself in a situation where you're seeing this sort of behavior taking place, extreme provocation or violence, it is your job to step in. By saying something, by trying to restrain someone if they're assaulting someone, it needs some courage. But that is good character to step in on the right side. Don't just stand there filming it on your phone and commentating. Jump in and do something. Imagine you're watching a film and some terrible act is taking place, and then another one of the characters just stands there watching. What would you think? What would you think of that character? How would they be in your estimation? They would plummet in your estimation. You'd be so frustrated. How can they just stand there and watch that without doing anything? Well, the same applies to you. Ultimately, what sort of person do you want to be? Do you want to be the sort of person who's ashamed of their behavior, who feels guilty about the way they behave? Ultimately, this leads to unhappiness. Or do you want to be a better sort of person? Have some self-respect. And the fruit of that will be people will trust you, you'll have good relationships, and generally success is more likely to come your way. Now, if you're one of the pupils who've engaged in violent behavior in this school, continue to do so, well, you'll be punished because that's fair. We'll help you. We'll try and talk things through with you. We want to help you to change, but you must engage with that with an absolutely impeccable attitude, expressing regret and trying to change. Now, when you're being punished or when you're being spoken to like this, you should be grateful because we think there's hope for you. We think we can change you, we can mold you, we can move you away from these bad behaviors. It's when we give up that you need to worry. When we think this isn't working, we're not getting anywhere with this person, because at that point we'll think this isn't the school for you. We're unable to educate you. Now, having said that, I would also emphasize that sometimes a violent attack can be so egregious that for the first time it's happened, you might find yourself removed from this school. That could happen. Now, just imagine that. You have a mad moment, you lash out, you kick at someone, you really hurt them. And the moment you've done it, your temper cools off and you regret it. And you find you have to leave this school, you have to leave all of your friends. You have to explain to your family. You have to explain to your wider family. Then you have to get to know new people in a new school. You have to go on a bus to get to your new school. Can you imagine that? Imagine how you would regret it. Imagine how you would think to yourself, if only I could turn the clock back and not do that thing, not have that mad moment, but it would be too late. It's a sobering thought, isn't it? Similarly, I would say with teachers, if any of you lay a finger on a member of staff in an aggressive manner, then you won't be seen in this school again. It's as simple as that. Now, 95% of you sitting there listening to me speaking today, you're probably thinking, this is fantastic. At long last, they're going to get a grip on some of the really bad behavior that goes on in this school, and the way I'm treated is going to stop. But maybe 5% of you are thinking, oh, I don't like the sounds of this. I quite enjoy being able to throw my weight around and cause a bit of pain and misery for my own entertainment. If you're in that 5%, you either need to be committing to change from now on, or why not just shorten the process and look for another school right now. If you ignore what I said, you'll find we're pretty tough with you and you won't like it, but it's for your own good. We're trying to change you, but we can't change you without your cooperation. That's what education's about. It's a vital part of education. It's helping you to form good character. And if we can't change you, we'll have to say goodbye to you. Right, thanks for listening so intently. I hope you have a good day. Lots to do and lots to learn. So I'll let you get on with your busy schedule. Thanks.